Hi, and welcome to Fan Talk. I'm Simon.
I'm David.
Today we're going to be doing something a little bit new.
Yeah.
We're going to be going through some different movie categories and just kind of listing off kind of some of our top favorites from that category. And I haven't shared my list with David, and I have not seen any of his.
Yep.
And, just to also just kind of throwing this out there, we came up with these lists. For me, anyway, this is like a snapshot in time. That might be a different list tomorrow. It might have been a different list last week. So, these kind of things change over time. But as I was kind of going through these, and I did put some thought into it, but at the same time, this isn't like, my forever list.
For me, I will say this. It kind of sprung on me. Simon and we were talking. He's like, let's do this. And I'm like, okay. And I threw this list together pretty quickly because for me, it's the same thing. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into this. For me, it was category, name off 3 films that jump out in my mind really quickly. So some of these would all probably fall into my top 25-ish, but it might be something I'm watching a lot now because I'm really enjoying it now. But like you said, later it might change.
Yeah.
And also I tried, personally, not to do a lot of series because I'm going to talk about that stuff all the time. You guys all know that I like Star Wars. You all know that I like Marvel films. You guys all know that, Die Hard, Indiana Jones. Come on. So I've tried to kind of leave some of that out. There was a couple that, kind of slipped in, but for the most part, I kind of try to stay away from that
I got a few, but not crazy enough. But I got a few individual entries in there. I didn't put down the entire Harry Potter series. I don't have a single Harry Potter in there, but I didn't put down the entire series.
Yeah.
Actually, there is one category I did write down the entire series, but I'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So
okay.
Without any further ado, we'll go ahead and start off with what genre are we starting off with?
Let's just start at the top of the list. Horror
films,
which is this. I didn't really watch a whole lot of horror movies until I was an adult, and you kind of broke me into them. But I do have my favorites. I know this is kind of one of your favorite.
Yeah, I had a tough time with this because I just popped off 3 off the top of my head, and then I realized that I didn't throw in another movie. I threw in a 4th honorable mention, but I could go on in this category. But let's start off with you. Let's hear yours.
Evil Dead 2.
Fantastic pick.
Saw 1.
Okay.
The reason for that... The series I had a whole lot of fun with. The first one was very well made, I thought.
Yeah,
it brought
awesome.
me into this genre more, and I thought it was very clever. The first one.
Oh, the first one was great. It was a great film.
This is one of the choices. Don't let Saw 6, 7, 8, 9, and 37 drag down the Saw 1.
Well, and that's with any horror movie, especially more than other films. There's
the 80s had bad sequels.
and they go and go and go and go. It's like there's not one Nightmare on Elm Street. There's 10. It's like, and maybe that Nightmare on Elm Street. I love the 3rd one. It was great. Dream Warriors was a great film. Anyway,
Evil Dead 2. I picked that one over Evil Dead 1 because I thought it was a better made even for film, and it brought me into it more. Also, I saw it first, and I didn't put on Army of Darkness because that would really ventures into the comedy more so than Evil Dead 2.
Yeah,
but I thought it was a very fun movie. And then my third one, Halloween reboot, Rob Zombie.
No, I love Rob Zombie and I like Halloween.
Just not together.
No, you know what? I like those films. They were really good.
And this is one where it did try and explain it, and I personally thought it did a decent job at it.
Yeah, and see, again, that's where you and I differ. I'm one of those guys, I don't need to see the monster in my monster movies. It
was a very different Halloween movie than the original.
Yeah, but I mean, it was good. I liked it. My 3 actually are kind of off the scales a little bit. I went with The Descent. The Descent I really loved because... in my opinion, when that movie came out and I went and watched it in the theater, it was a real experience to watch it in the theater because you felt like you were in the cave with them.
Okay.
And then also because at that time, there hadn't been a good horror movie, in my opinion, in a while. And that one just blew me away. It was just a really good film. I enjoyed it a lot. And as far as overall horror films, it would really make my list and probably my top 10. Then I went... with a film called Martyrs, which they've done a remake that's an American version. The original was not.
Okay.
And it's very dark. Ventures into the category of torture porn, but it's a great film. I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those that you have to have a strong stomach to get through. But if you can make it to the end, it just blows your mind. So I recommend it. But again, a lot of violence. And some parts that really kind of turn your stomach a little bit. But at the end, you're like, oh, wow. It's got a good wow moment to it, which I really liked. And another one on my list, which is something that most people wouldn't expect, it's a movie called You're Next.
Okay. That sounds like a horror movie title.
I really picked that one because I liked the flip on it, because most horror movies are bad guys come, bad guys hunt good guys, kill them all off. Right. In this one, it was a girl goes with, to a dinner with guys out in the woods. This kind of thing happens, and the bad guys show up, but just so happens that our main character had some really bad stuff happen to her in the past as a survivalist. So now it's really the bad guys trying to survive the night.
She flips it on him.
She flips it on him.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so it's got some really great scenes, and it was a lot of fun to watch, because it's not every day you get that kind of twist. It's kind of like an honorable mention. Mine would have been Cabin in the Woods for that twist that's really good, and campy but fun.
My honorable mention on probably just be Scream. I know I'm kind of going generic on that one, but it was a well-made horror movie that appealed to a wide audience, and the audience was me as well.
Yeah. So the horror movies I go on, and like I said, there was just a quick snapshot with 3 things that popped in my head real quick. I was like, oh yeah, this. I just watched You're Next 2 weeks ago again. I was like, God, that was good. I'm gonna watch that. So
okay, moving on to sci-fi.
Sci-fi. Okay, I'll go first this time. I went with The Arrival.
Oh, that's a good one.
I really enjoyed that.
The Charlie Sheen 1990s one?
No,
the one a couple years ago.
No. Funny thing is, though, I've seen that movie, so there we go. And then after The Arrival, I picked that one because it was just a really unique film.
It was.
It was done very well. Acting was good, and I really kind of liked that backwards storytelling. Mm-hmm. Then I went with another newer film, Ex Machina or Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, and
machine.
Yeah, and I really enjoy those kinds of films, those takes on things. And for sci-fi, this is tough because I watch lots.
Was that the one with the robot and the comes and ascension and?
Well, no, it's a sentient robots, and the guy brings this scientist in to see if he can tell if they're human or not human, basically. And this guy is there to observe, and he ends up falling in love with the machine, and she basically shows him that she's a prisoner, and it's about him trying to help them escape. And it's good. If you haven't seen it,
I watched some reviews on that one, thinking I need to keep an eye out for that one. So I think I will.
It's really good. And then the other one could probably fit into a guilty pleasure film, but is Equilibrium. I picked that one because I feel like it's a film that a lot of you probably haven't seen, because it's kind of one of those films that flew under the radar for a lot of people back in the day. But it's got Christian Bale in it.
Before he became massive with Batman.
Yeah, it's got Christian Bale in it, and it's a nice dystopian future kind of film, where feelings have been banned, and I just really liked the concept of the film. At the time, it was really good, and I still like to go back and watch it. And who doesn't like some gun fu?
That was an earlier example. Well, not earlier, because that's been around since the 80s and 90s, especially out of Hong Kong. But that's one of the more recent or earlier Hollywood kung fu's.
Yeah.
Was that 3?
That was 3.
Okay. My sci-fi list, and you can see I have it scratched. My original 3 all scratched out, so I'm going to keep those as honorable mentions. I finally settled on, and I want a couple of classics, Aliens and T2.
Yep.
For their science.
Oh, yeah.
They're pinnacles of science fiction.
Again, I tried to stay away from some of the series. That's
But I thought Aliens 2, and they're also both surprisingly Cameron movies. I didn't think about that when I was doing it, but those are, they're just 2 giants in the sci-fi field. I mean, you do any kind of alien-related movie, you're always going to come back to the Aliens trilogy, and especially Aliens. You do any kind of, Terminator 2, that is one of the first examples of, somebody saying sequels are always worse than the original, and somebody always can then say, well, what about T2?
Or, you can even say Aliens, too.
Yeah, both of them, too.
Because Aliens, a lot of
the
people
first one
like
was more
that
of a
better
horror.
than the first one.
The first one was more of a suspense horror, and the second one is game over, man.
Game over, yeah.
Basically, it was almost like a live-action video game, really. And then my third one, Interstellar. Originally, I had down Inception, and that was a close honorable mention, but I finally wrote down Interstellar. And yes, it does have some issues, but I thought it was great, especially the accuracy. Fair for Hollywood movies, not 100% accuracy, but for Hollywood movies, the accuracy, science accuracy, a lot of the themes, a lot of enjoy.
Interstellar was on my short list when I was picking some, and I kind of went away from that and picked some that I thought less people may have seen. Interstellar was fantastic in the box office, and a lot of people have seen it. I was kind of thinking of something a little bit, but that's definitely in my honorable mentions for sure. That's a great movie.
Other honorable mentions: Matrix, just because of the groundbreakingness of it.
Oh, Matrix!
And Matrix 1.
I liked all of them.
Yeah, I liked all of them, including the Animatrix. And then also I wrote down First Contact, Star Trek, Next Generation. I mean, it was it was probably the best of the Next Generation movies, and had some a good crossover appeal. That was really just fun to watch. And it still is, and I watched it recently a couple weeks ago, and it holds up pretty well.
Well, our next category is comedy, which is more your genre. Like me, I enjoy comedy just like anybody else, but I almost never went and watched comedies in theater. I always waited them to come out to rent, and I had seen handfuls of stuff before you and me became roommates, and then I started seeing a lot more comedies. So let's see your picks.
Well, and let me just be clear here. Yes, I do love comedies. And there's really bad comedies, and there's good comedies.
Yeah.
And there's some crazy honorable mention, comedies would just be fun ones like, Grandma's Boy, Road Trip, Euro Trip, American Pie. I mean, there's just tons of Porky's. There's just tons of good comedies.
Yeah.
And some of those aren't very good, but they're just fun. They're still fun movies. And so many movies can count as comedies, like Ghostbusters. You got all these things that can go in that category. And this isn't me trying to pick out which ones I think are the best in the world. These are just like some personal favorites of mine. Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
I can always just put that in and still laugh the entire beginning to end. And I actually quote that one every once in a while, still too, which I think is a sign of a movie that's really hit me personally. And then I did have Grandma's Boy written down, but then I decided against it and put down Office Space because that is just a great cult classic.
That made my list, man.
Okay, and then this is the one where I wrote down a series because I loved all these movies as a kid, and I didn't think I wanted to go back and pick out which one of these is my favorite because I haven't seen these in a while. But as a series, I loved them, and they were iconic. Was the Pink Panther series from Peter Sellers.
See, that's a real solid pick, man. A lot of people...
Shot in the Dark included,
yeah,
which is the first of them.
It's a good run of films.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of those when I was younger. I haven't gone back and watched them.
He's a comedy legend. Those are comedy classics, and it has nothing to do with the pink literal panther that you see in the cartoons. I mean, it's actually about a bumbling French inspector who is usually searching for a missing diamond called the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
And that is some comedy gold.
Well, for mine, Office Space made the list. And for me, a lot of that has to do with just how hilarious it was and the period of time in which I watched it.
Yeah.
And how some of those characters really fit. And I went through a phase like that in my life where it's like, you're going to quit? No, I'm just not going to go anymore. You going to pay bills? I don't like paying bills. I don't think I'm going to do that either. It's just like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
And I love that character. I love that film. It is great. And then the next one on my list I went with is Clerks.
Yeah.
And again, some people will be like, "Oh, that was this or that." I mean, listen, for
Clerks
me,
was very close on my list.
It
too.
was
There's just so many comedies.
Comedy gold. I mean, and again, it has to do with the point in time when I watched that film. I was working in a video store.
Yeah, same here.
It's like I worked at Blockbuster Video, and I could relate to these people and the people hanging outside who were always wanting free stuff. And I mean, it was just.
I worked at Blockbuster. Then a few years after that, I worked at Hollywood Video, and by then I was a bit more mature, a bit more cynical, and I did actually spout off some Randall lines to people.
And then the other one is another favorite of mine. I can go back and watch it over and over again. In fact, I have a thing where I watch it once a year. I sit down, I watch it. I always call a couple friends of mine to sit down, have some White Russians with me, and watch The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good movie.
I used to live in Colorado. They have a thing where they have a party at the bowling alley. Everybody dresses up and
puts on your robe and go.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Everybody bowls. It's great, but I freaking love that. It's a nice marmot. Obviously, you're not a golfer. There's just so many one-liners in that, and I think it's just those characters that are so just beyond caring that I really appreciate. So,
well, moving on to action. This was a hard category
this was
too.
Possible
Because
for me.
action is like, good action movies are going to be part sci-fi or part comedy or part a lot of different things.
Oh, and there's just so many.
Also,
so many.
Just to look ahead, we split off comic book movies as a separate category. That way we didn't feel ourselves filling in all these different categories with comic book movies since they've been so big lately. So that's why I haven't heard any lately, or heard any so far. So, what do you have?
All right, this was tough, guys. This was really tough for me. So again, I went with some stuff that I actually really enjoy a lot. So my first one on my list was Man on Fire.
Okay.
Love that movie. Great character, and I mean high action, but it was like slow build to it. I just really enjoyed that movie. I think Denzel Washington did a fantastic job. And that was really before he was just like knocking it out of the park every single film.
That was an earlier one of his.
Yeah, and I really...
Around more like the Negotiator time period, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And then next one on my list was, I couldn't help it. I was trying to stay away from series, but I had to, John Wick.
When it's just one, it's not a series.
Yeah, that's right.
Then they made more.
But John Wick, that movie, I love it. It's like I secretly have a man crush on Keanu Reeves and like most of the things he does. But John Wick, that just like was the end all for me. He just nailed it. I love that film. And what was the other one that I... Oh, I know what the other one I picked. The other one I picked was Jack Reacher.
Okay.
And, it was really hard trying to decide. A lot of people would be like, really? But I liked the character. Once again, and this is a movie I've watched recently. I watched both of them back to back because I hadn't seen them. And I like a lot of Tom Cruise's films. I really liked that character, and I enjoyed that movie. So that was my 3 right there.
Okay. I had Kill Bill Volume 1.
Yes.
Just so much fun. I mean, that's actually borderline just guilty pleasure. But it's actually a good movie.
Yeah.
So, all of the scenes, but especially the sword fight at the end, I mean, it's a fun action movie. 2, Casino Royale, and I'm talking the recent one, not the one back in the 60s with, ironically, Peter Sellers, I believe. I loved a good spy movie, and this was high action, well written, well acted, and kind of a more realistic take on Bond, kind of reinvented the Bond, got away from the cheesy latter years of the Brosnan Bond. And I love it, and I still love watching it.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to throw out like a Bourne Identity or like a bunch of other different ones like that, because I really wanted to. That's one always brings me back to that, because I thought it was just such a well made spy flick.
Yeah, that was what this genre is really tough for me, because I was trying to stay away from series and stuff. And
Ultimate series of Bond.
Yeah, Bond. But I mean, it's like you named some movies I really liked though, like the Bourne Identity series. I really loved. Die Hard. Come on.
Yeah.
Die Hard. All of them. It's.
We could probably, there's ups and downs, but all of them are good.
I could go on just about on this genre for like
any Schwarzenegger for the most part. True Lies, it's a great action movie.
One,
Red Sonja, I'm just kidding. That might be guilty pleasure. And then my last one, Last Crusade.
Okay.
It's, I think, the best of the 4 indie movies.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I'd say
Raiders is right there with it.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be questionable on whether Raiders is actually better. But, I mean, that as far as...
The interplay with him and his dad, I think, what edges it out.
Yeah, and who they had to play his dad. I mean, Sean Connery, come on, man.
Yeah. I think that was just a fantastic action movie. Real sets. That's before CG.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I'm going to go... First now on our next one, drama. And this is also a hard category because, what really constitutes drama? There's such a wide range on that one. So basically, I just went for movies that weren't explicitly action or comedy or sci-fi. My first one is one of my favorite movies, and I know this is cliche, but Shawshank Redemption. It's a fantastic movie.
That was actually on my list. I scribbled it off.
I mean... There's a reason why this consistently gets ranked extremely high on internet movie polls. It is a solid, well-made movie. You don't get much better.
No, it's fantastic.
And it was such a sleeper that year, too, because it came out in the Oscars versus Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction. That was a fantastic year for movies.
It was a great year for movies, yeah.
And I think in retrospect, Forrest Gump got the inside vote on the Oscars. Mm-hmm. It really should have gone to either Pulp Fiction or Shawshank, just because The two of those, Shawshank would have been the safer choice, but Pulp Fiction was so groundbreaking that it also deserves it in its own right. But Shawshank was a great movie.
Yeah.
My second one, Heat.
Yep. Another one of my favorite films.
It does have a great action scene in it, but this is primarily, it's a 2.5, almost 3 hour drama with a shootout at the end. And it's a heavy drama, the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a fantastic movie. And then I scratched through a few of them on my third choice. I was like, Dunkirk, maybe. Darkest Hour, another great one. I finally settled on King's Speech. The King's Speech.
It's another good one, man. I like some of mine I know could get knocked on, some years get knocked on. That is a solid list right there. All three of those movies, out the park. Good ones. I went with some of my favorites, which a lot of the things you named were on my list. Very short list. But one of my favorites, which is really funny because I tell people this all the time. They're like, oh, it's a chick flick. And I'm like, you need to watch it. And then they're like, holy crap, that was good. It's Legends of the Fall.
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
Legends of the Fall is a fantastic film. Brad Pitt kind of in his younger prime days, just fantastic.
This is like right after Thelma and Louise time.
Yeah, epic film. I mean, just about that character, and it just meant a lot to me. I enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it was
another one. I have to go with my boy Clint Eastwood, Unforgiven. Now, if we'd had a Western, I could have slipped this into a Western category and picked another film, but I would put Unforgiven up. It's one of the top 5 of all time as far as just the sheer magnitude of how good the acting was, and how you see a character who you don't expect to be everything that everybody's making him out to be, and then all of a sudden in the last 5 minutes you're like, oh crap. And the other one I picked, honestly, a lot of it has to do with because of when I was in the Army and the things I did, and then I saw this film and we'd all heard about it, and it was really moving for me, is Lone Survivor. It's it's a really great true story, and just a really good film, and I enjoyed it a lot. So those are the 3 snapshot dramas I would pick. But again, this category is for me is a lot smaller as far as what I would say is great. But I say all 6 of these are really great. If you hadn't seen them, you need to watch them.
All right, let's do a snap poll top of our heads. Westerns.
Westerns? Unforgiven.
Tombstone.
Tombstone. Young Guns.
Logan.
Logan? It's not really a Western. It has a Western feel to it, but it's not a Western by any stretch.
Blazing Saddles.
Fistful of Dollars.
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles is fantastic.
The other Wyatt Earp was good too.
Yes.
A little different than Tombstone, but I enjoyed it.
I also really liked this. Is kind of a one that's almost a comedy, but it's really good. It had Alan Rickman in it, which I really liked. Was Quigley Down Under.
Oh, yeah?
That was a good one.
Wild Wild West was not a good Western.
No.
I'm blanking. Maybe you can help me out. Daniel Day-Lewis, Oil Man.
Blood, something.
Oh, There Will Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood, yeah.
That was a fantastic movie.
That was really good.
Okay, moving on. Family and kids. I started off with drama last time. Go ahead and take it away.
Oh, this was a solid, easy one for me.
This was, okay, before we jump in there, this was actually a hard one for me because I'm like, okay, well, which ones am I thinking of because I've seen them 30 million times because of my kids? Which ones am I thinking of because, I liked them as a kid? So anyway.
For me, it was easy because they were ones that I liked as a kid, and that honestly kind of helped shape the way I liked movies and the kind of films I liked. So my first one on the list was Secret of NIMH. Freaking loved it. To this day, I can watch that animated movie in the end where Justin and Jenna are sword fighting. I want to stand up with a broomstick and walk through the house because that's what I did as a kid. I mean, it just brings back that memory for me. And the next one is Goonies. Oh. It's one of the films I watched in the theater with my mom and dad, and I remember it. And anything that I can kind of have those memories of my dad are good. Yeah. And I just remember afterwards we went out and had ice cream, and we all got all these different flavors of ice cream. We're eating it, and we're for weeks it was just all hey, you guys. It was just a great film.
Have you seen The Cut with the octopus back in it?
I have.
Okay.
And then the other one is a movie a lot of people haven't seen because I've brought this film up to other people and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "It was great. It was called The Explorers."
Oh yeah, they make their own spaceship.
Yeah, they make their own spaceship. I left that movie as a little kid
Thinking you could actually do it.
I could make my own spaceship, and I like telling my mom and dad the whole way home. I was like, "We have to find a tilt-a-whirl."
For a gyroscope?
I need to make my spaceship out of this tilt-a-whirl, right? And I just remember them laughing and just, telling you can do anything you want to do, but obviously you can't build a spaceship, but man, I really wanted to. And
I've forgotten about that one. That was a good movie.
I loved that film as a kid. So that's my 3, and that, I'm going to make my kids watch when they just get a little older.
Yeah, that was a good one. This isn't on my list. I just thought of the movie Space Camp. That was fun. Thinking could that actually happen?
Space Camp. Yeah, it was one of those that was really good as a kid.
And don't worry, Ewok's Adventure is not on my list.
Thank God.
I had Secret of Nim.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And I was actually almost disappointed as a teen when I finally read the book. I'm like, God, the book is so much better. But it doesn't have any fantasy or magic element in it like the movie has. So they're very different ideas and storylines.
Yeah.
But the book is fantastic. Princess Bride, I consider that a family movie.
Yeah.
Rated PG.
Unless you read the book. Again,
but, yeah. But the movie's fantastic.
Yeah, movie's great, hilarious.
And I've been watching, because my kids have been loving it, I've been watching it a lot lately. And it holds up.
It's just, he's not dead. Mostly dead.
They're all dead. And my daughter quoted that. We're watching another movie, and somebody died in the movie, like probably some Captain Marvel or America kind of movie. Somebody died, and she's like, "Well, I guess all they can do is go through his pockets and look for loose change." And I was like, "Yes."
It's a great movie.
My third one, Flight of the Navigator.
Another good one I loved as a kid. That's on my short list. I had to go with the Explorers, but Flight of the Navigator is fantastic.
Concept, really.
Yeah, well, Sarah Jessica Parker early on.
Yeah. So, do you think the Explorers stands up, or do you think it needs to be remade?
I would love to see an Explorers remake. I think it'd be a lot of fun to see somebody do that. I think it could be really good.
I
think it holds up pretty well though, as far as for a kids film. It was good. The aliens at the end are going to be really campy and cheesy for because they were anyways. But for kids today, they might really just be like, But I mean,
I think Navigator could probably do well with the remake if they do it right.
Yeah, they can do that.
Was it The Wiz or The Wizard? The one with Mario 3?
Oh, that was The Wizard.
The Wizard. Okay. Yeah. That was another fun movie where you're wish fulfillment, like I could be that kid. Yeah, running away from home and going to play a game for the first time and winning. Yeah,
I just remember that movie, they made this big thing out of the Power Glove. The Power Glove was garbage. The thing was garbage.
All right, I'll move on to comic book movies for the next to last category.
Okay.
Deadpool. I loved it.
Yeah, I almost made my list and I bumped it.
Okay. Kick-Ass.
Another really great one.
I loved it. Too bad there won't be a third one, but no. I love both of them actually. And then my third spot, man, I had like movie after movie written down and crossed out. MCU almost made the cut with Ragnarok, and finally scratched it off and put in Dark Knight.
Oh man, I'm really surprised. Whenever you hinted that none of yours were from the MCU, I expected you have what was number 1 on my list, which is V for Vendetta.
Yeah, that was such a good one.
Possibly one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, it is way up on my list.
V's on there.
Yeah, V for Vendetta.
Well, some movies you just don't even remember or think of as comic book movies. I mean, I actually have it
right there. Yeah, V for Vendetta is fantastic. I love it. That's a movie I can go back and watch over and over and over and over. Remember the 4th of November.
Yeah,
it's great. And then I went with Logan, which I really enjoyed. I love that film. I think it did really good. Don't get me wrong, the comic book nerd in me wishes that maybe they went a little more towards the path of the actual graphic novel and made it that much darker.
It's pretty dark.
But it's pretty dark. It was pretty good.
And they got to have a good send-off for two of the biggest characters in that universe.
Yeah, and it was done well. I love it. It was just phenomenal acting. I
guess we'll never see that girl come back as that character again. Now that Disney
X-23?
has it. Yeah.
Probably not. But I would not be surprised if we see X-23 at some point. She's a massively popular character. Yeah. And then finally, it was weird because I was like, Deadpool. I was really leaning towards Deadpool, but then I just had to slide back to my boy Peter Quill and the Guardians of the Galaxy, because this was a film that I was expecting much from.
Yeah.
And it just, like, there isn't a single Guardian that I don't freaking love and adore. I mean, the characters are hilarious.
They all work well together.
They work well together.
Supporting characters, Rondu, are awesome.
Yeah, it's just like there isn't a single thing on that film out of like almost all the MCUs. That is the one film, like as a standalone film, is just fantastic, and I can just go back and watch it over and over and over. I say that Winter Soldier was really good too, but. It's probably my favorite out of the MCU.
Yeah, just on the MCU. I mean, just depends on the mood I'm in. If I want more lighthearted, I love Ant-Man. If I kind of
Ant-Man's great.
If I want a bit more like off the wall weird, I love Doctor Strange. If I just want some good solid action, I love any of the Captain America ones.
Yeah.
So it depends on the mood you're going into watching it. And as I said, Thor Ragnarok almost made my list because that one was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it has Goldblum.
Goldblum being Goldblum.
Yeah. Like we're gonna turn the camera on, just be you.
Yeah, just do you.
I love that. Like if anywhere else, I'd be thousands of years old, but on Sakaar. Everyone's like, is he still talking?
Is he gonna finish?
All right, guilty pleasures. These are movies that I think our definition of it are they're not necessarily good movies. They can have some good aspects to it, but they weren't considered to be well made or fantastic movies on a critical or technical viewpoint. But we can't help but just throw them in and just have fun watching them over and over again.
And this one,
and I got several, so if you can keep it more than 3, it's up to you. I got 6.
Okay,
this is one.
I had a hard time with this one because I was like, there's so many movies I go back and watch. And some of them really great films, and some of them other people are like, what are you watching?
I could go through here and just keep writing things down. I mean, this category.
I went with some that I've watched recently because recently Starship Troopers had released some of the animated stuff I'd never seen, so I went back and watched Starship Troopers, and that movie is awful. And I mean, I'm just saying that I don't even mean to pick on these actors, but the actors in it aren't really known for being very great either, other than
Neil Patrick Harris?
Yeah, Neil Patrick Harris, thank you. Yeah. Other than
Denise
him,
Richards?
Denise Richards, what was his name? Van something.
Casper Van Dien. Jake Busey.
Classic B film actors, and
it's a B film.
Yeah, it's a serious B film. It came out in the theaters.
With good effects for the time.
For the time, but just, would you like to know more?
What did the armor actually help with?
Yeah, right. And nothing like the book at all. But of course, that book is hard to make a film out of in a lot of ways. But
I'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
Also, book.
Yeah. But so, and then another one I really enjoyed, which before we move on to another one, let me circle back to what I was going to say. Have you seen Starship Troopers 3? Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Okay, they actually had the full mech armor and everything.
Yeah.
That was a lot closer to the book.
To the book, it was, yeah.
And actually, they got Casper Van Dien back, and for being, I think it was a direct-to-video.
Yeah, it was.
And for being in that series, actually wasn't half bad. But go ahead.
My next one was Tremors.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And then it's like,
God, that's a great movie.
It just makes me laugh because, first of all, I like Kevin Bacon. Everybody's 7 years, you like Kevin Bacon. I love Kevin Bacon. I've actually seen him in concert.
Yeah, Bacon Brothers.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy, and his movies are great. He's been in tons of good stuff. Just real down to earth, and I love a lot of his 80s and early 90s stuff.
Tremors was
so good, and it's just like I like the guy, Reba McEntire's husband in that film, and Reba McEntire,
the guns.
Yeah, it cracks me up because those are my kind of people. I have lots of guns. They have all these guns just waiting for something bad to happen, and it finally does, and it's like the comedy and with mixed with the horror was kind of a thing in that period of time in the 90s, and it just was a classic. It was hilarious. All the ones that followed, really bad.
Oh God,
but that one.
But even the effects
great.
for that movie, they did such like a practical, creature under the ground. All they had to do was do things that pulled things underneath the ground to make it look like there's something there.
Yeah.
And then they actually had the creature exposed every once in a while, and it wasn't crazy bad. I mean, it holds up for the little movie that it is.
Yeah.
But that was I haven't seen that in a while. I want to go back and watch that one again now.
Yeah, and then of course I had to throw this one in just because of the incident, which we will not talk about on film. But Young Guns, love that movie. You're just like, get him, Billy. But Billy the Kid and just about that whole story, and I mean, I really like that film. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I kind of go back to that one a lot.
I don't think I've seen that one since I lived with you. What's your crossed out one?
Oh, the crossed out ones, the Postman.
Oh,
which I would throw Postman, Dirt World, and Water World. I'd throw both those in there. I enjoy watching those on occasion.
Those are guilty pleasures.
Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh god, that one, yeah, that's a great one. Let me get through my list and we'll just keep throwing it out. Not Another Teen Movie is one of the few parodies since 2000 that I think was hit the nail on the head pretty good with the teen movies.
It's hilarious.
And it starred Captain America.
Yeah.
Chris Evans. Now, there's some great parodies going backwards, Hot Shots and Airplane and stuff like that. But since 2000, you've had some awful ones like Epic Movie, Date Movie.
Yeah, they're all awful.
But Not Another Teen Movie was
awful
a fun
movie.
One. Yeah.
All of them.
All of them. I had The Saint, just personal favorite. It's a little cheesy, but Val Kilmer, I think, did a good job. It had captured a good kind of moment in time with fall of Soviet Union, conspiracy, but wild theories about cold fusion. Has Elizabeth Shue. It's kind of a fun little spy movie. Also like the older Saint movies back from the 30s and 40s. Also like the Roger Moore series from the 60s in England. So I like the character already, and the techno soundtrack was a lot of fun. So that's a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I could always put this movie on in the background without kids home and doing housework or whatever else around the house and just follow along, just still laughing it off. And I mean, any of Kevin Smith's movies would probably fall, the VSQ universe would fall into the guilty pleasures or the comedy categories.
Yeah, Mallrats is one of mine. I can throw that in and just laugh.
Yeah, but I decided just to stick with Jay and Silent Bob for this one, and I cannot wait for the new one coming out next month.
Next month?
Biodope.
What?
Yeah, make fun of me.
Oh man, no!
With the weasel.
I'm not a fan of any of those really his movies.
No, I'm not a huge fan of most of his movies. Jury Duty, I can okay with. Was a Son-in-Law was decent, but as far as this outright just cheese, where Stephen Baldwin actually did a better job acting than Pauly Shore. Wait, no, the other way around. Pauly Shore did a better job acting than Stephen Baldwin. It was just this dumb fun. Probably because it was one of the first comedies like that I rented when I was like a teen, so that's what kind of stuck with me.
See, for me, a comedy like that, it would be Ace Ventura.
Yeah, that's actually a good movie. Compared to Biodope.
To this day, I mean, I can sit there, that whole scene with the sliding glass door. Oh, I'm just like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Last Starfighter.
Last Starfighter. I would put that. I mean, it's not even guilty pleasure. That's a great film. You should watch that. That's great.
That's some rough effects. I could use an updating, which I don't know if it needs it. I think it's probably great the way it is. But yeah, it was a one I watched as a kid all the time.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Which is right up there next to The Beastmaster.
Beastmaster. Yep.
That was also just on cable all the time. I loved it. It was obvious Conan knockoff.
Yeah.
But it was fun. And, Rip Torn, God rest in peace now, is great in that movie.
Yeah, he's the bad guy.
Avoid the sequels. Actually, they make the Beastmaster one look really good.
Yeah.
And then the last one I had just on just some guilty pleasures, Power of One. The book was fantastic. This is one of Morgan Freeman's early roles.
That's a drama. That should be on a drama list. That's a good one. That's not a guilty pleasure. Again, I wouldn't call that a guilty pleasure. That's a really good movie. Yeah.
I guess I put it in the guilty pleasures because it didn't really make any waves. It kind of bombed pretty good.
Well, and I don't understand. I think it's one of those
though.
that you kind of have to look at when it came out, what it was competing against. I would actually look into that because I'm not 100% sure. I just know
before Morgan Freeman made it big.
Yeah, but I know that movie, it was really good. The acting was good. I mean, I enjoyed that film.
There's some good hard-hitting topics, some boxing stuff. And as I said, the book was fantastic as well. The reason I thought guilty pleasure is because it was almost like an unknown.
Yeah. But no, man, guilty pleasures. I mean, I could throw all kinds of stuff out there, just like stupid movies that are just a hell of a lot of fun.
Just any comedy, almost at random, is a guilty pleasure. As Old School, Grandma's Boy, American Pie 1 through 30,
Something About Mary.
Yeah. There's so many of those that just fall right into that category. Even going backwards, like Caddyshack, Porky's. There's tons of them.
Yep. Well, it was tough for me with this too because I have made a list before in the past of my top 25. I see top 25 lists all the time, and I'm always watching them and going, nope. Oh, that's pretty good. I kind of have my own stuff that I really like, you
Yeah.
know. But and now though, there's like even today, like I was sitting there and I was like, with drama, I was like, should I put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as my drama, because that's one of my new favorites of all time. I love
I've
that
tried
movie.
to stick away from 2019 movies when thinking about this because I didn't want the recentness of them to kind of weigh in.
Yeah, and that was me. I was like, I think I should wait because we're already talking about these films, and you know, there's so many great things for us to talk about that maybe people haven't seen, and by seeing this talk about it, be like, ooh, I want to go back and watch that again, or I've never seen that, like, I should check it out. So that's one of the main reasons I like doing this, is I feel like maybe somebody's watching out there who hasn't seen something we talk about, or
comment with some ideas for other ones that you thought should have made the list.
I tell you another guilty pleasure, just real fast, because he passed away this year, Edgar Hauer. But if you haven't seen Blind Fury or Lady Hawk, in my opinion, fantastic fun film to watch. Check those out.
We might need to do this again with some other categories, because I was just thinking Brothers McMullen is for comedy, but that might be a great independent movie category.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we just it's throwing stuff out for people to check out, because I mean, there's just a lot of movies, so many things, can't see them all, but this is just a snapshot. You said, hey, get me 3 films, your favorite in these categories. This one just came to my mind really quickly. So
yeah, so we made this list. Next week it probably be a lot of these will be the same, but it might be some different movies on there too.
Yeah. But again, folks, say thanks for watching, and leave comments. Let us know what you think about our choices and how right or wrong we were. And keep checking us out. Hit like and subscribe.
All right.